Welcome to the Railway Village Museum in Boothbay, Maine. Visit our antique automobile museum and other exhibits, including the model railroad. Go to the website for all our events at railwayvillage.org.
Welcome to Chasing Time. I'm Tim Lewis, and today I'm chasing time at Burnt Island Lighthouse, located at the western entrance to Boothbay Harbor, Maine. And a warm welcome to my guests, Nancy and Steve McCullough.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
So I thought we'd start, both of you giving us some background on Burnt Island Lighthouse. What brought you here?
Well, my dad was stationed here from 1959 to 1962. This is before we had electricity. And it was definitely a family-run operation. Everybody had to work because we didn't have electricity, so everything was mechanical, and it's all hands on deck. Like we had to maintain a bell, we had to maintain the light, and we didn't have a dock, so our only access to Burnt Island was by the slip, or they call it rails. There's different terminology for different times.
So you were hands-on here?
We were hands-on, literally hands-on.
What were some of your daily activities?
Well, first thing, when I went to, my dad took me to school, and he also lobster fished with Captain Arnold Rogers out of Boothbay.
Yeah, I remember.
And Arnold was a great guy and a great friend and really part of our family, because a lot of times if a storm brewed and we're off island, and say we're in school, Coast Guard, we didn't have telephones, so my dad would radio in the Coast Guard station, and then Coast Guard would call school and say either go to Gert and Arnold's, or sometimes we went to the Coast Guard station, which was a lot of fun because they're just kids, and they used to, I remember a guy named Timberlake, and he made the best airplane in that radio station. When he was on the radio, we had planes. The Chief Jordan was the head of that station at the time. I remember him coming in one night, and we had probably 15 airplanes. And he looks over at Timberlake, and but he was really good about it. So yeah, we used to keep some change of clothes, either Gert and Arnold's, sometime the Coast Guard station, and Wesley Barrett, who was the caretaker on Mouse Island, he had a house up on School Street, and we also had and my sister and Molly were good friends, and actually, as the story continues, she kind of moved away from here and spent more time on Mouse Island, because Mouse Island had electricity, Mouse Island had tennis courts, a 2-lane bowling alley. Molly had her own little dollhouse at the end of the point with her own TV. And
all the comforts of home.
Yeah, and I had TV, but we didn't have electricity to run it. Only at night a little bit to charge our batteries.
So Steve, on your duties here, you mentioned about cranking the light?
Cranking the light, cranking the bell, and cranking the bowl. I was a cranky little kid.
So that was quite a process, wasn't it, doing that?
It was. Well, the first year when I was 7, my dad, like I said, he lobster fished, and he used to work on Squirrel and Mouse Island.
I see.
He liked adventure, so anything high, he'd go over and paint a flagpole, or Wesley Barrett and him became pretty good friends, so he painted a lot of houses on Mouse Island.
Yeah.
Because somebody had to be on the island all the time. Usually my mother and I were here, and I could run the weights, and she could even run the radio. I don't remember our handle. All I remember is Foxtrot, Echo, Paco, Bravo. That's the only thing I remember as a kid. But that might have been our handle. I don't know.
Yeah. So how did it get its name, Burnt Island?
Well, years ago, a lot of the islands, they just burn them off and bring cattle or goats or sheep, keep the vegetation down.
I see.
A lot of the islands did that.
So that's where the name came from then?
Yeah.
And what year was the lighthouse built and opened?
1821 it was built.
Now, Nancy, your role here at the lighthouse, can you tell us some facts?
Yeah, well, I see everything through Steve's eyes, his memory, and what he tells me. So basically my role is to tour people through the house and give them some basic understanding on the history in the 1950s. So the decor is definitely the 1950s, and many people my age really enjoy it because they remember the S&H green stamps.
Yep, I do.
They remember the different kinds of fuel that we used, and they remember so much about this time in their life. And for the small ones that come on the tours, I'm very interested in how they can identify some of the different utensils in the pantry, things that were definitely way before their time. And it really gives the parents a chuckle to be able to see that their kids are really critically thinking about what this item looks like.
Yeah.
My favorite is to go in the covered walkway, which is a slanted floor that leads from inside the house to the workroom of the light itself. It doesn't exist today in terms of a door that goes straight through, so the keeper doesn't have to go outside.
I see.
But in that covered walkway is all the history of Burnt Island and beyond. It mentions the 30 keepers that have been here since Steve mentioned 1821 when it was built. So a lot of information is at the end of the tour in that particular part of the house.
That's a beautiful display in that walkway.
Yeah.
So that must draw some good attention,
It
remarks
does.
from people.
Yeah.
So on your tours, Nancy, how many people do you tour at one time?
The Balmy Days has been bringing out folks all summer, starting mid-June, and we just finished the tours. Typically 1, 2, or 3 tours a day, depending on interested folks who want to come out. And usually we're having 20 at a time. So it could be 60 at the end of the day, plus anybody else who's visiting with their own boat on Burnt Island. So it's quite a happy spot.
I bet it is.
And people enjoy it. The atmosphere is unbelievable out here.
It is. Now, Nancy,
Through the house, yeah.
Lighthouse Days is, what is the date?
Yeah, so this year it's going to take place on September 13th. It's a Saturday. And Balmy Days will again be the water taxi bringing folks out. You can register online, balmydays.com. And one of the things that it will be featured is from 10 o'clock until 2 in the afternoon, every half-hour tours from the mainland to the light station and return boat trips to get people back. And they'll be afforded the opportunity to take a full tour of the house, grounds. There's many beautiful trails around this 5-acre island. And also visit the workroom in the tower as well as go up to the top. So it's very exciting. We're hoping that folks from different areas around where Burnt Island is located, as well as visitors in Booth Bay and community, can find their way out here to see what we enjoy.
It's beautiful. I'm looking at the rooms here. Is the furnishings, is it original furnishings? Or?
In this particular room, yes, and the kitchen. And also, it's a mix between what Elaine Jones, who was one of the directors of education at the DMR, has brought to the lighthouse, as well as the Muse family, who lived here from 1936 to 1951.
Well, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it was restored. What year was it restored?
In terms of a timeline, the first restoration of the lighthouse was in 2003. And at that time, they restored, Steve was part of that with his brother.
This was under this labor of love, right, Steve?
Oh, yeah. I came here on my sister's 50th birthday, and she had never been back. She lived in South Carolina, so she wanted to come back to visit. And so we had a ton of my family here. My brother Kirk, he was born right here in Booth Bay Harbor. And when we came ashore, my mother was with us. We got to the field and she just started crying. My dad was fearless, he was adventurous. And before, we were actually headed to Woods Hole. Yeah, that's where we were supposed to be going, and that's like going to Portland Headlight. It's the elite lighthouse, and you had electricity, you don't have crank weights. But I think my dad probably got wind of this island, and he probably made a swap just to make our life
Yeah.
not miserable, but adventurous,
I see.
because he was that type of guy.
Yeah. And you were what, 3 years on the island?
I was 3 years, 3 years, 1959 to 62.
How did you get to school?
We had what they call a peapod. It's pointed on each end. We had a 7.5 horse Johnson first year, and there's what they call the boathouse, and it has a slip or rails. Terminology has changed. We always call it a slip. Elaine always call it the rails. As they call this a walkway going to the lighthouse, we call it the passageway because the walkway took you to the outhouse.
Yeah, I see.
Then they put the plumbing in upstairs.
What year did the plumbing come in?
It came in 1958.
So in the winter, that must have been adventurous making the crossing to the mainland.
Yeah, we had some pretty good rides.
I bet you did.
One morning, my dad was taking me to school, and it was like, I call them slush puppies, like snow cones.
Yep.
They're in the water, and there's steam coming off the water. And we're out by Tumbler, which is about a little over a mile away from Burnt Island. And I'm in the bow of the boat, and I got this foghorn. And my dad keeps saying, keep your eyes peeled, keep your eyes peeled, and blow on the horn. And so you're blowing on the horn, and it's cold, and we get into, and I can see nothing, but I'm looking ahead. Well, when I blew the horn, all of a sudden the horn blew. There was a trawler right behind us. And I was kneeling in the bow, and I kind of had my elbows out, looking and blowing, and that boat went by. The upriggers, thank God they were up, because they wouldn't even know when they hit us.
Yeah.
We turned, and when my dad turned the pod, I almost went overboard. And I think I told my wife this. She doesn't like to hear this stuff, but I said, the only reason they give you a life jacket down there is so I can find your body when that water's so cold. I wouldn't swim in this water in August.
Let's highlight on the tower. What can you give us? How high and what was
This
it?
tower is 30 foot high.
Yep.
30-foot tower, that's to the cement.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the original tower. It's 4 foot wide in the bottom. It's made of granite blocks, then it's brick lined.
Yep.
And it's got coated rubble stone.
I see.
So keeps the moisture out so it doesn't get into the moiter.
So those walls are pretty thick then, right?
Yeah, 4 foot at the bottom, and they go up to, I think it's 16 inches at the top. So it's like a dam, You got to taper.
So they can buff the winds pretty good then.
This, I wouldn't worry about too much blowing off this island. This is all granite. Well, it's funny you said that, because when I ran the fog bell, if the fog was coming in from the Cuckles, you better be heading up to the bell tower. We always kept the weight, the 450-pound weight, at the top of the tower, because you had 4 hours before you had to re-crank. So, 4 hours seems like a lot, but if my mom was here, she could go start the fog well if we were in school. But somebody would have to come back and crank. Sometimes the fog, I've done as many as 6 cranks a day, and my dad cranked at night. This bell tower had to run around the clock. It wasn't like this is why I say the bell tower to me was more important than the light, because we didn't run the light during the day.
I see.
And if the fog comes in, you can't see the light.
No.
And now you remember, we had a lot of fisheries in here. Actually, they had a sardine factory in town.
I remember.
And I remember these boats, it's not like today, there's nothing on the water. Back in those days, this harbor was busy.
Yes, it was.
And so when the fog came in, the mariner depended on that fog bell a lot.
Yes, he did.
And that's how I met Hal Marden, because he was a kid like 15, 17, and he was intrigued. He's an engineer, and he was intrigued. I wonder how that bell works.
Say, what's the range on that light?
The kerosene lamp that we had up in the tower when I was here, it's called a Fresnel fourth order bullseye lens. It's a bullseye on all 4 sides, and as the weight of the tower dropped, our flash, Burnt Island flashes every 6 seconds. So every time the weight would drop, your bullseye would rotate 90 degrees. You had a kerosene lamp, you opened it up, put it in your lens, you could see it 13 miles.
Wow.
And this thing up here, you maybe see 4. Most of the lighthouses like Cuckles, Ram, Burnt Island were 4th order Fresnel. a lens. That was pretty standard. Fresnel is the lens. I mean, when you go to our tower, you're going into what they call the lantern room. You're walking inside your light bulb.
Steve, I'm curious, why the red and white lights?
Okay, now these are inner lights. You're coming into the harbor now where there's a lot more things to run into.
Sure.
A lot of reefs. The white channel will take you safely into town. But if you're on the water and you see red, this is what you remember. Red is dead, white is right. All right, so if you're coming from the Cuckles and you see Burnt Island red on the water, don't go there.
Absolutely.
The white is brighter than the red.
Wow.
So it will shoot a beam across the water. So Cuckles white light will line up with Burnt Island's white sector, take you safely into Booth Bay.
I see.
Now if you're coming down from Monhegan white light will line up with Pemaquid.
Yeah.
Now Ram Island is a sector light too, and their white sector will take you safely into Lincoln Bay. Then the two white lights will take you safely into Booth Bay. So you can come down the coast of Maine on a clear night if you know where the lighthouses are.
Yep.
Just follow the white light.
Yep.
And most, like I said, most of the outer lights are white. And when you're coming off the Cuckles, if you're coming from Pompano Beach, you want to go wide because there's a reef off New Wagon that goes out there a long way. So they want you to come the far side of the Cuckles. We had what they call channel panels that we put up. And it's like shooting a bright white light, and you could see it go across the water, and you could see it going right to the Cuckles or right to the Ram Island. That was in a kerosene lamp that you could see 13 miles, but when it rotated in that center of that bullseye, lined up with the channel, it like somebody put one of those high beam lights right in your face.
One other thing, I'm curious, how does the fog belt work?
Okay, so the fog belt, in my opinion, that was my responsibility for 3 years. My job was to do that, and I couldn't do it when I was 7. So my sister and I did it together. I'd push up, she'd pull down, you know. Finally we get it up there. You know, of course, I wasn't very big at 7, but when you start cranking these weights and cranking the boat, I got rugged pretty quick.
Those were heavy.
So, yeah, 450-pound weight.
Wow.
It had to be cranked every 4 hours. So when the fog came in from the Cuckles and you couldn't see Squirrel Island, that big boy had to be running. And sometimes it would run for a week. And they had to run night and day. My dad cranked at night. And I've done as many as 6 cranks a day as a 9-year-old, 10-year-old kid. So my main thing was just to see Squirrel Island, you know. But every time the weight, we could be right here in this living room. When the weight dropped, the hammer would lock back, and then it'd drop again, and it would strike that bell. It would shake this whole island.
Wow.
So I knew when it was time to go re-crank when the island wasn't shaking.
That was a signal.
That was a signal. But I tried to catch it before that. I could actually tell when the weight got down towards the bottom that it was time for me to get up. You do it for 3 years, I'm going to go down to start cranking. And when I first started doing it alone, after my sister went to Mouse Island, I'd do it every 2 hours, 2.5 hours, because it was too much for me, you know, when I was 8. But
I would think so.
9 and 10, I could do it okay.
Yeah.
It was Steve's job to crank those weights in the bell tower. And when he left Burnt Island, his dad made money off his ability to take down most men in arm wrestling.
In my research, I see Burnt Island Light was added to the National Register of Historic Places. What can you tell us, Nancy?
Well, it's an amazing place, number one, but it was nominated back in, I think, 1977 to be placed on the Historic Register. And there is a plaque, a gold plaque, that's affixed to the tower itself, which names all 30 of the lighthouse keepers since 1821, when it was first lit.
Yep.
And Joshua Cushing actually was the first person who lit that lamp. And we'll tell you more about the bicentennial, but that also was included in the bicentennial celebration 200 years later.
Wow. And that was 1821.
Yeah,
And
November 9th, 1821.
And then the bicentennial, what year was that?
That was 2021. And we had 2 different celebrations. One was in August more or less to thank all the donors and all the participants, the volunteers, the community who participated in all the restorations from 2003 to 2021. And it also included such people like Jamie Wyatt.
It is a great honor and a pleasure to present you with this Lighthouse Preservation Award.
And lighthouse keepers came as well, the ones that were living. So there was 4 lighthouse keepers that came, and then the keeper's son.
Wow.
So it was quite
I bet
an
that
amazing
was.
celebration.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I bet it was.
Yeah.
It was very well put together. I was impressed.
Yeah.
The lighthouse keepers that came, are they still in Maine or?
Hank Siege, he was the last lighthouse keeper here. He was here for the autumn, and then they shut it down. They had no more keepers.
What year was that?
That would have been 1988. 1988.
Was that the trend of all the lighthouses in that year?
They varied.
They varied.
Yeah, Burnt Island was the last light electrified, is the last light automated.
Nancy, I see the Department of Marine Resources acquired the Burnt Island Light Station in 1998. This was part of the Maine Lights program. Can you highlight that?
Sure. So if we look at when Burnt Island was automated in 1988, there's a period of 10 years where the Coast Guard had to maintain all the buildings and the grounds of all of the lights in Maine. It became a very expensive proposition. So they were looking at an alternative way that we could still keep the lights burning, but U.S. Coast Guard did not have to pay for what it took to keep all of these lights going. So the Maine Lights program was really set in place for private people to be able to acquire lighthouses, and as long as they could manage and financially bear the burden of taking care of all that had to be taken care of with a lighthouse. And the DMR acquired this particular lighthouse as part of that program. So basically they had to say that they would keep this going as recreation, education, and also a community service to the local area in Booth Bay. And there was a director of education at DMR, Elaine Jones, who was really interested in seeing how all of those different features could be put together as a vision on Burnt Island. So Elaine became more or less the spokesperson for what she would see and want to happen on Burnt Island, and the rest is history, really.
Yeah.
Today seems like a perfect day for the keepers of Burnt Island to let you know how much your hard work and dedication means to us and to the people of Maine.
So the Maine Lights program really was a change for the landscape of Maine. And some of the lighthouses are no longer in operation.
So that, all in all, is a good thing, right?
Yeah, it is a good thing. I mean, that would be the benefit, because we still have education happening in our area. And the historical perspective is that there are certain guidelines that have to be kept and met for this light station to be part of the historical register.
What are some of those restrictions?
It would be to keep the buildings and the grounds as is, and if there's going to be a change or a proposed change, you have to submit that to the people in the historical department. And they're going to agree or disagree that it's a good thing to do.
So the approval would come from them?
The approval would come from them.
Well, that's good, though. You keep the legacy of the lighthouse intact. And,
Right.
So all in all, a good move.
It's only a good move.
Nancy, I hear many stories about spirits being in lighthouses in Maine.
Yes.
Now, have you run across any spirit activity here at Burnt Island Light?
Well, personally, I have not been afraid, because I know Steve's here with me.
Yeah, I'll see ya. They come, I'm gone.
There are stories
Yeah.
about a female spirit who was the wife of a former lightkeeper. And there have been several stories, and Steve's mother actually had a sighting. But I will tell you that when we did the bicentennial, and I took a lot of pictures back then, that one of the pictures that I got back and looked at as a review from that night, they actually shut the lighthouse tower down. It went dark, and then all of a sudden the light came back, just like November 9th, 1821.
Right.
And there was 3 spotlights on and around the tower. And one of my pictures showed a beautiful reflection of the lighthouse. And then there, just to the bottom of the exit to the lighthouse, there's this figure who looks like she's got a cape over her head. And a shawl, and similar to what has been seen before out here. So many people have looked at it, many people are interested in it, but we don't know the real story. It just is very suspect that could have been.
Yeah, I mean, you read about that in lighthouses all across Maine, activity
Yeah.
of spirits. And
I'll take that one, that Paul Kelly that you were talking about. He looked out the window down the stairway, going down these stairs, and what's my wife doing up so early? So he rolled over and put his arm around over the top. She was laying there, so he jumped out of bed. And all he told me was that he saw a shawl, and he could only see one side of her face. So he actually had seen her. And my mom, Nancy talked about this, 2 silhouettes dance around the log bush. And that's in one of the books that's in town. And my mom, when we started coming out here, Elaine asked me, and I said, no, I was only 7, 10. I didn't think about stuff like that. Well, I went back to Bethel, and I asked my mom, and her face was turned the color of this tablecloth. And I knew she saw something. She wouldn't lie. You might not want to hear it.
I'm a firm believer in spirits around. And,
But it's friendly.
friendly spirits.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And well, with the picture that I interpreted it to be looking good, 2 thumbs up. That's that's what Martha thought.
Yeah,
That's right.
you know, the bicentennial, good job.
Yeah,
right?
sure it is.
That's how I
She should
felt.
be here.
Great celebration.
Yes,
And
it
I
was.
was kind of above the crowd, but I didn't see her, you know.
Yeah.
It's just in pictures. When
Yeah.
It's like when you'd get them
Oh, sure.
developed.
Oh,
and
sure. Then you see.
Yeah.
And you see. That's the truth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought we'd find out about taking the tours out here to Burnt Island Light.
Yeah.
Where do people go? Is there a website they can get on to?
They can. So the tours have completed for 2025. Hopeful that they will resume again in 2026.
Good.
And Balmy Days has been the water taxi to kind of head that up. And that's all done online. Unless you're in town at Pier 8 where they are, then you can, I'm sure, buy tickets right there at their booth. Steve and I have,
Kelly's been
the
great.
best time that we have out
Yeah.
here is when tours come.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I've known Bill and Kelly Campbell for years. They're good people.
Oh, they're
Yeah.
They
great
run
people.
they run a nice service there.
Yeah.
Say, is there anything I forgot? Would you like to add anything to the interview?
I think we've really covered most of the facts, but there is one thing that I think we saw when the bicentennial happened is a little kind of an overview of 200 years on Burnt Island. And it was part of the program. The cool thing on this particular program is it's got 1821 on one side of the light that goes out to the ocean, and it's got 2021 coming out the other side. And it says 200 years of service. As one of Boothbay Harbor's most beloved icons, the Burnt Island Lighthouse is the people's light. As a navigational aid, it guides mariners safely into the harbor. As a symbol of hope, it welcomes home weary fishermen and recreational boaters to their peaceful port of call. As a beacon of light, it captivates and inspires students and teachers who wish to learn, and as an easy and accessible destination point. It lures kayakers and the cultural tourists ashore. Burnt Island has given to the public in so many ways, and the people have given back by fully restoring it to its glory in time for its bicentennial.
Very nice words.
Right.
Appropriate.
And I think on the walkway that has and shares all the history, the timeline kind of speaks to all of those years.
It does.
And especially after automation, when this lighthouse was restored.
Steve and his wife Nancy and brother Kirk McCullough gave generously of their time to help restore their childhood home. Going back to 1999, they have been here every summer and helped me so much in those first years. Steve and Nancy, I love you.
It's a big effort.
No
and a good
tax
effort.
dollars, just very generous people, grant writing, volunteers, networking, a lot of hard work.
Yeah,
And it shows.
yeah, it's beautiful.
It is beautiful. Well, look, I think we'll get ready to close the show down here. And I want to have a special thank you to Nancy and Steve McCullough for taking the time to talk with us, and for the Department of Marine Resources for allowing us to film here on the island. And may Burnt Island Lighthouse and its legacy continue to shine bright for many, many more years to come. I always like to close on a positive high, and this one fits the setting perfect. Be like a lighthouse and shine. I'm Tim Lewis, a Boothbay Harbor native, and your host of Chasing Time, signing off from the beautiful Burnt Island Lighthouse in Boothbay Harbor, Maine. Till we meet again, my friends, stay forever young.
Welcome to the Railway Village Museum in Boothbay, Maine. Visit our antique automobile museum and other exhibits, including the model railroad. Go to the website for all our events at railwayvillage.org.